Hello everyone and welcome back to the Star Wars Library. Today I'm super excited because we're going to be going through more of the Young Jedi Knight series, and we get to talk about the next book, which is called Lightsabers. This is the cover here. This is a later printing, I believe, from Jam Barkley, so fortunately it's not one of those cool firsts that I have. It is also collected in the Rise of the Shadow Academy omnibus, and then there's also, I've failed to mention, a trade paperback version of it that was out. It was called Jedi Sunrise, and it had this one and then the next two in this series. So it's kind of a bigger paperback version. I still have my original copy here. This one is actually very, very special to me in the sense, I've heard other people share it, and I'm similar. I feel like I have a memory for every single one of these books. And this memory, I remember getting this on Easter Sunday. My parents put this in my Easter basket, and I got it. I was super excited about it, and then they were immediately going to the hospital to have my brother. And I remember in the hospital waiting room later that Easter Sunday after church, waiting for news on if my brother was born. I was with my grandparents in the waiting room, and I was reading this exact book right here. So it's kind of beat to hell because I read it a lot. But yeah, I've had this with me. This is one of the first EU books one of the few that I first got in the year that I discovered the Expanding Universe. So this one just holds special memories for me, and memories reading it. But let's actually get to the plot of the book instead of just my soapbox, if you will. So let's actually get to it. So as you know from the last couple books, the Luke Skywalker is aware of the Shadow Academy and the threat that they're doing, the Second Imperium and whatnot, and all these new Dark Jedi that are being trained by Brackus. And Zek has been taken in at this point. And Luke kind of realizes, like, hey, like, this could be a problem for the New Republic and in this new Jedi Order that I've been creating. So he has his his academy, and he has full knights, but he's realizing that we need to accelerate the training of some younger students, and this includes Jason and Jaina, Tanelka, and Loey. So he basically says, okay, in part of this training, I need you guys to build your own lightsabers, because now we got to start training with sabers. We got to start learning combat. You have to be ready to defend yourself. So the young Jedi Knights, they're pretty stoked because they've wanted a lightsaber. I mean, we've talked about a little bit. Jason in particular has wanted a lightsaber, and so they go off and they build their lightsabers. And Jason uses the gem driver that he took, or the gem that he took from Lando Calrissian's gem mining station, and so they all build it. Tanelka kind of hastily puts hers together. Luke brings them together. They start doing some training, and then he goes, okay, I'm gonna have you guys spar. And so Loey and Jaina spar, and it goes fine. And then Luke has Jason and Tanelka. In the duel, they get in a saber lock, and Jason's pushing all his weight on his saber, on Tanelka's lightsaber, and because of how hastily she built hers, it shorts out, and the blade just goes away. And so suddenly Jason's given all his force on the saber lock, and now there's no blade, so it just goes right through, slices off her, I believe, her left arm. So she's whisked away back to Hapes, and she actually chooses not to take a prosthetic or mechanical arm. She doesn't want to be part machine. So she learns to, and that's kind of the throughout the course of this book, is she's trying to learn how to, because again, it's a warrior culture. She's a warrior princess, and so she's trying to kind of come to terms with this new normal for her. She doesn't blame Jason. She knows it was an accident. Jason, though, is racked with guilt because he likes Tanelka. And so he's racked with guilt. He's wanting to apologize to her. He's trying, to, not only ensure that he feels better about it, but more importantly, that he knows that she doesn't hold any resentment towards them. So Jason, Jaina and Lobaka, Luke says, you know what? Why don't you go? and be with her. So they go, and they find actually there's an attempted assassination attempt um, on Tenel Ka and the family and her family. And so her grandmother, Ta'achum, basically is like, "Yep, y'all are in danger, and I'm going to put you guys on this island in this ocean." And there's another assassination attempt because these Bartok killers are trying to get him, and basically they find the killer, Ambassador Yifra, I think is how you say it. And Tenel Ka basically says, "Screw you, Grandma, I'm gonna go back and train more as a Jedi." And so she builds her new lightsaber, the turquoise one, and the Rancor tooth, which is the one that she'll use from here on out. You also see some stuff with Zek. You see him getting a lightsaber as well. Brackus kind of takes him in particular under his wing and will train him. You see a really cool lightsaber duel between Zek and Temeth Kai's apprentice, who I'm spacing on the name of her apprentice, but it doesn't matter because Zek kills him. And Zek becomes the Darkest Knight, and he's going to lead the attack on the Jedi Academy. So that kind of is setting up the next 2 novels in this first arc. There's some cool continuity here. Tyone is when Tenel Ka first leaves, she kind of takes over doing some training lightsaber stuff with the Young Jedi Knights and being the historian and the head of the archives of the Jedi Order. She tells them the story of Nomi Sunrider. So this was the first time I actually knew who Nomi Sunrider was this book. And I'm like, who is this? And then I cannot tell you the joy I had when a couple years later reading the Tales of the Jedi books and seeing Nomi Sunrider. I immediately was like, oh my gosh, now again in publication we've already known about Nomi Sunrider, and it's Kevin J. Anderson who is best buds with Tom Beach and then will take over writing that. So he of course knows that, but of course I didn't pick that up at the time. But so I cannot, like I said, I cannot tell you the joy that I had when reading about Nomi Sunrider, hearing it, and then actually getting to read that tale later on in my life. So that was a cool thing there. So there's a couple other things with continuity there. That's the big one. But yeah, and then now the Young Jedi Knights are armed with their lightsabers that they will use through pretty much the rest of their career and in the expanding universe. And so yeah, that's pretty much the book. I mean, like I said, for me personally, this was something I so badly wanted as a kid, and I think this is one of the reasons why I asked for this book in particular, because it's like I wanted, like I've said before, I read this series out of order initially, and so I wanted to see how they got their lightsabers. And so it was really cool to actually see that, because as a kid, who doesn't want to see the lightsabers? In the first 3 books, there are no lightsabers. That they don't have any lightsabers. Obviously, Luke does, but and Brackus, but yeah, aside from that, the main characters didn't have it. So I wanted to see Jason with a lightsaber. I wanted to see Jaina with a lightsaber. I would see them all with their weapons, and so it was really, really cool to see that. And you see some maturity because they have to. Jason kind of realizes, like, I wanted to have a lightsaber so bad, and he kind of realized it in Shadow Academy, and especially here, like it, and it kind of made me think, because as a kid I had all my toy lightsabers and I wanted to do that, but then Jason made me think of, oh yeah, like it would be like any other weapon. It'd be like a gun. It'd be like a sword. But yeah, they're not toys. You don't mess around with them. And it kind of made me think, like, if I was fighting with my buddies Josh and Landon, around this time with real lightsabers, we'd probably chop each other's heads off, and that would be a big deal, or we'd lose a limb. So it kind of, for me, this book made lightsabers, like, I'd seen it in the movie, but actually, like, hearing it talked about like this from Star Wars characters, it kind of made me as a kid go, oh yeah, like, lightsabers, there's, you gotta, like, it made them more real to me, in the sense of, you don't want to fool around with these because they're weapons, just like guns in our world. And it kind of helped. I remember as a kid watching the behind the scenes, and George Lucas would say the lightsaber is, kind of it's supposed to be more of a more majestic, or more civil or respectful, or you know, of you know, a distinguished thing. Like, it takes great skill to wield a lightsaber, similar to, you know, Obi-Wan saying, you know, not as clumsy or random as a blaster, or so uncivilized, you know. um, it kind of helped add to that. So when watching the Star Wars movies, it's like, oh yeah, like, it takes great skill and practice to wield a lightsaber. So it made the weapon more it gave it more mystique and more elegance, and helped, just again, as the expanding universe should do, augment your experience when watching the film. So props to Kevin J. Anderson and Rebecca Moesta for that, because that, yeah, kill it. Oh, and also, covers are by Dave Norman, so the cover's amazing. But anyways, the book, is it an essential read? If you're reading the Young Jedi Knight series, obviously it is. I would still say I think it's a good read too, even if you're not reading the whole series. I think that, again, it explains where they get their weapons, and like I said, I think it will help better your view and strengthen your view on the lightsaber as a piece of technology, as a weapon. I think it will give it more elegance and more class, than, say, if you just watch the movies and as a kid I'm like, ooh, sword fights. But this put the lightsaber in a whole new perspective in my mind, for the better. So hopefully I articulated that enough. But that's definitely how I felt there. So I do think it's a good read. I don't think it's necessarily an essential read, but I do I mean, it is for sure if you're going to read the series, but I do think it is a great read, and I would still encourage you to check it out, even if you are not reading the series. So folks, that is all the time I have for today, and I'll see you next time with another episode. Until then, may the Force be with you.